I never thought I'd be the one to say this on a public platform, standing before the world to articulate a reality that fundamentally dismantles our understanding of existence. I have spent my career shielded by the walls of academia and the comfort of theoretical models, but Harvard and NASA have just confirmed something about the object known as 3 Atlas that we can no longer ethically or scientifically ignore. What this confirmation means for humanity is beyond anything we have prepared for in our history books, our science fiction, or our most advanced simulations. We are standing on a precipice, and the view over the edge is both terrifying and transformative. Before we begin this deep dive, I need you to do something crucial. Comment your city name below and tell me if you've noticed anything unusual in the night sky lately. Strange luminosities, movement that defies physics, or atmospheric anomalies. NASA is quietly monitoring reports from civilians around the world because, in this unprecedented scenario, your ground-level observation might be more important than the data from a billion-dollar satellite. What I'm about to share may change the way you see humanity's place in the universe forever. I've spent my entire life studying the cosmos, dedicating decades to the pursuit of the unknown. I've written equations that describe the fabric of space and time, attempting to quantify the invisible forces that bind reality together. I've theorized about parallel universes, the stability of wormholes, and the violent, beautiful birth of galaxies. But nothing, absolutely nothing, in my tenure as a physicist could have prepared me for what Harvard and NASA revealed in their joint classified briefing 3 weeks ago. It was a meeting that was never meant to exist, discussing data that was never meant to be found. And now, for reasons I'm still trying to understand, fragments of that briefing are beginning to leak into the public domain. It started with 3 Atlas. You may have heard the name in passing, perhaps buried in the back pages of a scientific journal, or mentioned briefly on a news ticker. Perhaps you saw a headline, scrolled past it, and thought it was just another interstellar object drifting through our solar system, a piece of cosmic debris with no significance. After all, we've seen them before. We tracked Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019, rocks from distant star systems tumbling through the void, crossing our path by cosmic coincidence. That's what we told ourselves. That's what we wanted to believe because the alternative was too complex to entertain. But 3 Atlas was different from the very beginning. It was discovered in early 2025 by the Atlas Survey System, the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, a global network of telescopes designed specifically to detect near-Earth objects that could pose a threat. When the first images came in, astronomers were immediately puzzled. The object was moving faster than it should have been based on gravitational assists alone. Its trajectory didn't match any known orbital pattern of comets or asteroids, and its surface was reflecting light in a way that defied every material analysis we threw at it. It wasn't rock, and it wasn't ice. Then came the spectroscopy data, and this is where the mystery turned into an anomaly. When we analyze light from distant objects, we can determine their composition, what elements they're made of, their temperature, their chemical structure, by reading the absorption lines in the spectrum. It's a routine process. We've done it thousands of times to map the universe. But when the spectrographs at Harvard's Center for Astrophysics processed the light signature from 3 Atlas, the results came back flagged. Not inconclusive, not uncertain, but flagged by the system itself. That means the algorithms detected something they had never seen before, something that didn't fit into any existing database of known materials in the periodic table or the known universe. I was brought into the loop shortly after this anomaly was confirmed. They needed a theoretical physicist, someone who could look beyond the raw data and ask the harder, perhaps more impossible questions. And when I saw the readings, I felt a chill I hadn't experienced since I first learned about the heat death of the universe as a young student. The object wasn't just reflecting light, it was modulating it. Let me explain what that means, because the distinction is vital. When light hits a rock, it bounces off in predictable ways, based on surface roughness and albedo. The angles, the wavelengths, the intensity, all of it follows the laws of physics we've understood for centuries. But 3 Atlas was doing something else entirely. It was altering the light in patterns, repeating deliberate patterns. These were patterns that, when analyzed over weeks of obsessive observation, began to resemble a structure. It was not random noise, it was not chaotic scattering, it was structured data. At first, we thought it might be a natural phenomenon, perhaps some kind of rapid rotation or a crystalline formation we'd never encountered, refracting light in unusual ways. We tried to fit it into natural models, desperate to find a conventional explanation. But then the engineers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory ran the data through their signal analysis algorithms, tools originally designed to search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI. And that's when everything changed. The patterns weren't random. They were encoded. I want you to understand the weight of that word, encoded. It implies agency. It means intentionality. It means designed. It means that something or someone embedded information into the surface reflectivity of 3 Atlas. Information that was meant to be read, meant to be discovered by a species capable of optical astronomy, and we had just found it. The room went silent when the lead engineer presented the findings. I remember looking around at the faces of my colleagues, men and women who had spent their entire careers searching the stars for the slightest hint of life, often facing ridicule. And now, sitting in a sterile briefing room in Pasadena, we were staring at the proof. Not a radio signal from a distant star that left its source millions of years ago, not a faint technosignature in an exoplanet's atmosphere, but a physical object traveling through our solar system carrying a message addressed to us. Harvard's researchers began the decoding process immediately, working in shifts to crack the cipher. It wasn't a language in the traditional sense. There were no words, no syntax, no grammar that mirrored human speech. Instead, it was mathematical. Pure mathematical relationships expressed in ratios, primes, and geometric configurations. It was the kind of universal language that any sufficiently advanced civilization would understand, assuming that math is the constant language of the universe. And that's when we realized something terrifying. This wasn't a greeting. It wasn't a hello. It was a warning. The mathematics described a boundary, a specific region of space surrounding our solar system, defined by precise celestial coordinates and energy thresholds. At first, we couldn't understand the purpose of this boundary. Was it a natural phenomenon we had missed? Some kind of cosmic membrane or dark matter concentration we hadn't detected yet? But as the decoding continued, the meaning became horrifyingly clear. It was a quarantine zone. Humanity, according to the information embedded in 3 Atlas, exists within a designated containment area. The boundary isn't physical in the way we understand barriers. It's not a giant wall or a force field encasing the solar system. It's something far more sophisticated. It's a region of space where certain types of signals cannot escape, where certain hyperspace technologies, if we ever develop them, will not function beyond a specific threshold, where quite simply we have been isolated for our own containment. I know how this sounds. I know the implications are almost too vast to process, sounding more like the plot of a science fiction movie than reality. But the data doesn't lie, and the mathematical precision of the encoding leaves no room for misinterpretation or wishful thinking. Whoever sent 3 Atlas, whoever designed it to enter our solar system at this exact moment in our technological development, wanted us to know. They wanted us to understand that we are being watched, that we have been watched for a very long time, and that our emergence into the broader galactic community is not guaranteed. It is conditional. NASA immediately classified the findings, locking them behind the highest levels of security clearance. But Harvard, being an academic institution dedicated to the dissemination of knowledge, pushed back. There were intense debates, ethical arguments about the public's right to know versus the risk of mass panic. And in the middle of those debates, whilst the bureaucrats argued, something else happened, something that made the quarantine revelation seem almost mundane by comparison. 3 Atlas changed course. Objects in space don't just change course on their own, they follow ballistic trajectories determined by gravity, momentum, and the laws of celestial mechanics. Once an orbit is calculated, it's predictable down to the meter for thousands of years. But on March 14th, 3 Atlas executed a maneuver, a controlled, deliberate adjustment to its velocity and direction. It slowed down, defying the gravitational pull of the Sun, and then, impossibly, it altered its path to achieve a stable orbit around our Sun. It wasn't passing through, it was staying. The propulsion mechanism, if that's even the right word for what we witnessed, showed no thermal signature, no chemical exhaust, no electromagnetic emissions. It simply moved as if the object had the ability to manipulate space-time itself, bending the fabric of reality to achieve motion without conventional thrust. This is technology that we've only theorized about in the most advanced physics papers, Alcubierre drives and gravity manipulation, technology that would require an energy output and an understanding of the universe so profound it makes our entire scientific revolution look like a child's first attempt at counting. And it was here, in our solar system, watching us. The psychological impact on the research teams has been significant. I've seen colleagues, brilliant minds, people who have dedicated their lives to the rational pursuit of knowledge, break down in tears, not from fear exactly, but from the crushing weight of realization. The realization that everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe was wrong, that we are not the brave explorers we imagined ourselves to be, charting the unknown. We are the observed. We are the contained. We are the quarantined. But why? That's the question that haunts me every night, staring at the ceiling. Why would an advanced civilization isolate us? What about humanity warranted this level of specific intervention? The decoded message offers clues, though they're deeply unsettling to our ego. The mathematics references evolutionary thresholds, specific stages in the development of intelligent species. It describes a pattern that appears universal, a developmental arc that all technological civilizations follow. And within that arc, there are critical junctures, moments where a species either transcends to a higher state of consciousness and cooperation, or it self-destructs. Humanity, according to the message, is approaching one of those junctures right now. The quarantine isn't meant to keep us trapped forever like prisoners. It's meant to contain the potential damage we could cause, both to ourselves and to the broader galactic ecosystem, if we expand outward before we're ready. Think about it honestly. We are a species that has only recently developed the ability to split the atom, to manipulate our own genetic code, to create artificial intelligence that rivals our own cognitive abilities. And yet, with all this power, we still wage wars over resources and ideology. We still destroy our own planet's ecosystems for short-term gain. We still struggle with basic concepts of empathy and cooperation on a global scale. Would you, if you were an advanced civilization monitoring thousands of emerging species across the galaxy, allow such a volatile species to venture out into the cosmos? Would you risk them carrying their violence, their short-sightedness, their capacity for destruction to other worlds? The quarantine is an act of cosmic pragmatism, perhaps even an act of mercy, preventing us from becoming a cosmic pathogen. But here's what keeps me awake at night. The message also indicates that the quarantine is being monitored in real time. That means whoever built 3 Atlas, whoever encoded that warning and sent it across the light years to reach us, is watching our progress right now. They're measuring our advancement, not just our technology, which is trivial to them, but our consciousness, our ability to evolve beyond our primitive impulses. And there's a threshold encoded in the message, a specific set of criteria that, if met, would result in the quarantine being lifted. We would be welcomed into the galactic community, given access to knowledge, technology, and cooperation beyond our wildest imagination. Or if we fail to meet those criteria, the quarantine could become permanent, or worse, the experiment could be terminated. NASA is taking this seriously, more seriously than anything I've witnessed in my 50 years in science. There are teams working around the clock, analyzing every piece of data from 3 Atlas, trying to understand the full scope of the message, Harvard has assembled a coalition of physicists, linguists, anthropologists, and consciousness researchers to explore what it would mean for humanity to pass the test, so to speak. And there are quiet conversations happening at the highest levels of government about what this means for our future, our religions, and our societies. But the public doesn't know, not yet, and maybe that's for the best. Can you imagine the societal upheaval if people truly understood that we're living inside a cosmic containment zone, that our wars, our politics, our daily struggles are being observed by intelligences so advanced they can manipulate the very laws of physics? Yet the leaks are happening. Information is getting out. And I believe that's intentional. I believe that someone within the research teams wants the world to know, because keeping this secret might be the worst thing we could do. If humanity is being tested on our ability to transcend our limitations, then transparency, honesty, and collective awareness might be exactly what we need to pass. The most profound part of the message, the part that still gives me chills, is the final sequence of mathematical relationships. It describes consciousness not as an emergent property of biological complexity, as a byproduct of the brain, but as a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity, like electromagnetism. Consciousness is woven into the fabric of reality itself. And the evolution of intelligence, according to this message, is the universe's way of becoming aware of itself. We are not separate from the cosmos. We are the cosmos awakening. And the question being asked of humanity is this: will we awaken in wisdom, or will we awaken in chaos? 3 Atlas remains in orbit. Every major telescope on Earth is tracking it. And just 3 days ago, something new happened. The object began emitting a low-frequency signal, barely detectable, but unmistakably artificial. The signal repeats every 11 hours and 17 minutes. We don't yet know what it means, but the timing is precise, too precise to be coincidental. Some researchers believe it's a countdown, others think it's a beacon calling to something else out there in the dark, and a few, myself included, wonder if it's an invitation, a test to see if we'll respond, if we'll reach out and attempt communication with whatever intelligence lies behind this message. Because here's the truth that we're all grappling with. First contact isn't coming. It's already here. It arrived the moment 3 Atlas entered our solar system. And everything we do from this point forward is being observed, analyzed, and judged by minds we cannot yet comprehend. I think about my grandchildren. I think about the world they'll inherit. And I wonder if they'll grow up in a humanity that transcended its limitations, that learned to cooperate, to protect its home, to value consciousness and wisdom above power and conquest. Or will they grow up in a species that remained quarantined, isolated in its corner of the galaxy, forever watching the stars and wondering what could have been? The choice, it seems, is ours. But the clock is ticking. As I sit here tonight looking up at the sky from my home in New York, I can see the faint glimmer of stars through the light pollution. And I know that somewhere up there, 3 Atlas is orbiting our sun, carrying its message, transmitting its signal, a cosmic reminder that we are not alone, that we never were, and that the universe is far stranger, far more interconnected, and far more purposeful than we ever imagined. I don't have all the answers. No one does. But I know this: we are living through the most important moment in human history. The moment when we discover that our existence has meaning beyond our planet, beyond our species, beyond our individual lives. We are part of something vast and ancient and beautiful. And we have a choice to make about what kind of participants we'll be in that cosmic story. Follow this channel as we continue decoding the universe's final warnings, because what happens next will determine not just the future of humanity, but our place in the grand tapestry of conscious beings stretching across the stars. The question I leave you with tonight is this: if you knew that an advanced intelligence was measuring humanity's worthiness to join the galactic community, what would you change about the way you live your life? What would you change about how we treat each other, our planet, and the future we're building? Think about that and then ask yourself, are we ready, or do we need the quarantine after all?